Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paulina Guzman, and I'm excited to welcome you all to the World Languages Week Diplomacy panel, which is really focused on how language plays a role in building relationships and how that translates within the field of diplomacy. So on behalf of the Center for Urban Language Teaching and Research at Georgia State University, I welcome you to the 6th Annual World Languages Week. CULTR, as the center is known, is one of 16 federally funded Title VI language resource centers in the United States. It has created a unique identity around serving the needs of all students and the communities they represent by helping to promote language opportunities, access, advocacy, outreach, and research. CULTR has gained a national reputation for its innovative approaches to promoting access to language education for all students, regardless of their socioeconomic status and ethnic background. So again, my name is Paulina Guzman. I'm the Global Engagement Officer for the Mayor's Office of International Affairs at the City of Atlanta. And it's my pleasure to welcome you all here today for this diplomacy panel, which I will be moderating. So before I introduce the panelists, I'd just like to quickly address a couple of housekeeping items. So all attendees will remain muted throughout the entire session. If for some reason your connection is interrupted, you can rejoin using the same link that you used previously, or you can also join via the live stream on YouTube. Also, be sure to submit your questions in the Q&A box by clicking on the chat icon at the bottom of your screen. You don't have to wait until the very end of the session. You can submit your questions throughout the panel discussion, and then we can revisit them a bit later. If you like the questions that you see in the chat box, be sure to click the thumbs up icon so that you can promote the question to the top of the list. And then I'd also like to draw your attention back to the event website. There you can find instructions on how to download the app Goose Chase. Students can sign up today to join a virtual scavenger hunt, as prizes will be awarded to the top scoring schools. Okay, so today we have the pleasure of welcoming our distinguished guests to this discussion. First, we have Ms. Flora Leah Venegas. She is the Consul General for the Costa Rican Consulate of Atlanta. We also have Mr. Peter Zimmerli, Consul General of the Swiss Consulate in Atlanta. And of course, we also have Mr. Kazuyuki Takeuchi, Consul General of Japan in Atlanta. Thank you for waving. So I think we'll get into a little bit more about your professional journeys as diplomats and sort of, what your past titles and positions entail. But first, I sort of want to step back a little bit and start with your personal stories. So all of you are public servants. You all are serving as the top diplomat in the Southeastern United States for your respective countries. But you all started somewhere. So ground your perspectives for us. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing in Switzerland, Costa Rica, Japan. How did you become interested in international affairs? And how did your childhood, or I guess your young adolescent experience, shape who you are? So let's start with Consul General Venegas, if you'd like to begin.
Okay, hello, I would like to welcome you all. Thank you for being here. And well, as you might have been seeing in my bio, I'm a lawyer, okay? But I think it has, the reason why I'm here has more to do with family matters, I believe. Because in Costa Rica, it's very normal, and we have to have ties with the United States. and with other countries. We are a very open society, first of all. And second of all, most of the families have a foreign member, a foreigner in their families. So it is very usual to have them and to at least have listened to another language while growing up. In my case, my grandparents were from Louisiana. And since very young, I understood that countries or cities or even your towns or schools are built on relations between people, and that those relations were not only based on our singular particular country or town or school or whatever, it went beyond that. So yes, afterwards I went to a university because my goal was always to be a lawyer, and I found out that most of my clients were foreigners. So after that, it just kept on coming to me because I like to study a lot. I like to learn about different topics. So I had to find out something that would permit me do that. So then I studied a little bit of I got a degree in diplomacy, and that opened my doors to be where I am today. So that's a little bit it.
Yeah, no, that's great, and it's very interesting. I think Costa Rica and Latin America and Central America and the Caribbean in general, very social population, very socially oriented. So it sort of makes sense that you sort of fell into that. But how about you, Consul General Zimmerli? Do you have any sort of distinct memories of your childhood or your young adolescence that contributed to your interest in pursuing diplomacy?
Yeah, well, thank you very much, first of all, for having me today. I'm really happy to be on this panel and talk to the young people. Well, I grew up in a small town in the central part of Switzerland, central north part of Switzerland. And the nearest big city was Zurich. It was about 40 minutes by train or by car away. And having spent my childhood and adolescence in a rather, let's say, tranquil environment, but having read a lot about the big world out there, I really felt the need to see the world. Also, Switzerland being a landlocked country, borders can become quite narrow very soon. So I felt the urge to step a little bit beyond. But my first step out into the big world was rather inside Switzerland, was going to Geneva for my first job, which was actually with an American company. But this just made my hunger for adventure and the world even grow bigger. So having also a big interest in politics and international affairs, as well as getting to know foreign cultures, I really wanted to bring these interests together. And I applied for the exams to the Swiss Foreign Ministry. And as you can see, I was lucky. I got admitted, and here I am.
There you go. Here you are. And I'm sure it also helps, that Switzerland, there's a lot of countries that border Switzerland as well. So I'm sure you had many experiences growing up with meeting people from different countries. Good. So, Consul General Takeuchi, did you have sort of a similar experience? What did where did you sort of find this interest in international relations as you were growing up?
Yes, thank you very much. And first of all, let me tell all of you that I'm quite happy to be here to talk to young people. Although up until several years ago, I thought I would be a young people. And quite honored to be speaking like this. And everyone knows that Japan is geographically a collection of islands in the Pacific Ocean, and heavily rely its existence on relationship with other countries. So I chose economics in entering university as a major, and in that time it was quite natural that diplomacy came into my sight as my future career. But I have to confess that the final push for me was very much light novel, spotting light on a young to-be diplomat. Finally, gave me a last push. Actually, I was grown up in Tokyo metropolitan area, basically, and had a school in Yokohama and then Tokyo, and joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But I have to confess that, again, I never went out of Japan before I joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Well, you're here now, and since then, it looks like you have traveled extensively. So, but that's very interesting. I think it's sort of interesting to see the variations between you all and sort of your upbringing and how you kind of became interested in the field of diplomacy. But that sort of brings me to my next question. I kind of wanted to investigate that a little bit further, and how did your roles come about? Some of you sort of touched on it, where you took an exam or you studied it in the university, but I think students and just people in general aren't really familiar with this mysterious world of diplomacy and protocol, what's with all these flags and titles, what is a consul general at all? What is even a consul general? Do you have to know somebody to get into diplomacy? What's going on behind the scenes? So perhaps demystify this for us, tell us how you landed where you are in your current role, the teams you lead, and what it means to be a diplomatic representative of your country. So Consul General Takeuchi, how about we start with you, if you'd like to go.
Yes, first of all, let me tell my personal opinion about what you said, diplomacy and protocol. We have to know that diplomacy is part of public policy, and in that sense, quite similar to other area policy in the other area. Difference is that it involves the relationship with many other countries with different value and culture. Protocol is some sort of rules and procedures which makes the relationship with different value as smooth as possible. So in that understanding, you can see a protocol more close to you. And then I moved to my my diplomacy. In Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Japan, we still rely on long-time serving officers for our job, and that makes everyone to play a role similarly wherever you are and whoever you work with. So I'm sure I'm now in Consulate General of Atlanta and playing the role as a Consul General of Japan. That I understand that this role is a symbol of Japan in my region, which is the state of Georgia, state of North Carolina, state of South Carolina, and the state of Alabama. And everyone can understand Japan to some extent in looking at me and my office. That is my ultimate goal. And for that purpose, I'm working hard with my colleagues.
Perfect. Yeah, great. Thank you, Consul General. Flora, I'd like to kind of get your thoughts on sort of this, what are your thoughts on diplomacy and protocol? How do you see that fits into your current role, the previous roles that you have held? Can you kind of demystify this, for students who maybe are unfamiliar or people who are not in this field?
First, I would like to warn you that I like to talk very much. So I am going to explain to you a little bit of what I have learned about our diplomatic system, we can say, or diplomatic career in my country. Okay. As you might know, Costa Rica abolished our military since 1949. Okay. So, and before that, we also gave a lot of privilege to our education system. Okay. So that really marked a before and an after in our country. Okay. Since then, we tried to it's hard for me to say this word, professionalis, okay, to make professional all of our entire government system. Okay, in 1960, they created a law and they said who could and who couldn't be a diplomat in our country. And they established two different services, the consular service and the diplomatic service, meaning that the diplomatic service is going to be entitled to work with political issues, with creating contacts. But very soon, and the consular corps, we're going to deal with basically the country's citizens and try to help out foreigners establish either businesses or their own lives in Costa Rica. But we're a small country and we do not have a lot of people to do this. And it seems like quite hard to believe that being a diplomat is difficult. But when you really look into it, it means that we have to leave our country, to leave the land that we know, the people that we know, and all of what we know, to learn and live a new life and learn about different society systems around us. And not many people are willing to do that because people have different goals in their own lives. Okay. So right now in Costa Rica, as we don't have this many people that want to be a career diplomat, we just have like a diplomatic ranks. So we could be like on a diplomatic rank, but serving on the consular part of the service. Okay, so it doesn't matter. You have to be a professional, a law professional, or international relations, political science. You have to take like 10 tests. You have to know at least 2 languages. And then you're going to be tested like for 15 years until you keep on growing and going up on the ladder. And I'm going to tell you my experience with this because, well, you may think, well, okay, I could be a diplomat, but it's very hard when you try to get into the detail. And when you begin studying about protocol, some things that you usually do are not quite correct or polite. So you need to rethink and relearn many of those things. And that is a little bit different. And something that maybe in your country is correct on your book and your protocol might not be in some other country. This changes wherever you go. And the other thing I wanted to say, and just to end this, is what amazed me the most, like 17, 18 years ago when I began this career, was that for the first time, they were applying the law that was created in 1960. So I went through an interview and they asked me, well, aren't you planning to have kids? Well, aren't you planning to have a husband? Well, aren't you planning like to establish a home wherever you are? And I was like, if I was a man, they wouldn't be asking me these weird questions. So it was quite surprising. Apparently I answered on the correct way because I'm here, but to me it meant something, because before they weren't many women as diplomats in my country, and now we have almost like 80% of us are women. So that means something.
It's so interesting that you brought that up, Flora. I think,
Yes.
because that also touches on, as I mentioned before, this sort of world of diplomacy and protocol. In a sense, it can sort of seem very rigid and very antiquated. But I think, the agenda is being pushed in many different countries to sort of modernize. Diplomats, for the first time ever, are more active on social media.
Yes.
The president of of the United States, presidents and heads of state of all countries all over the world are very active on social media, and very, and I think there's really this sense to start to really diversify and push the envelope a little bit in this sort of antiquated field of protocol.
Yes, we need to break that image with the black limo with the flags and with people with drinks and night suits and night clothes, because it is more than that. Well, the black car is impossible for some of us, but and also the clothing, but we have learned that you can create better relations on a personal level. And it is true that you need to follow protocol. But I think now people are, I don't know if they need that human touch. They need to feel that they are a person, a human being. They need to create, I don't know how to say this in English very well, effective links.
Sure.
Either to a person or to a country. And this has made us change the way we work and the way we go establishing our offices and the way we deal with people. It's
sure. Absolutely. Thank you, Flora. I think you touched on a lot of really interesting elements there. Peter, would you like to add on to what Flora and Consul General Takeuchi's comments? What is your thought on all of this?
Yeah, I'm happy to. And I, excuse me, I actually agree with Flora's statement on protocol. And also similar to Costa Rica, in Switzerland, we have 3 different careers. It's the international cooperation, the consular services, and the diplomatic service. But the process to become a diplomat varies from country to country. In Switzerland, we do not have a specific school for diplomats. So anyone with any university degree can apply for the entry exams. We even have diplomats who are scientists, doctors, or even theologians. Once you have passed the entry exams, you have to do a kind of a 2 years internship. And after that, there is a final exam, and then you become a career diplomat. But how did I land in Georgia? Well, I applied for this job, as we have to do every 4 years. We change postings regularly, mostly every 4 years, and then we have to apply for the new posting with a motivation letter. The ministry then analyzes the candidates among the diplomats and sends then the most suitable candidate to that posting. I applied for Georgia because I really wanted to have also an experience of working in the United States, to get to know the biggest economy in the world and the leading nation in so many respects a little bit better, because the United States is really a very important country for Switzerland. It's our second biggest export market for Switzerland, and we have Switzerland is the seventh biggest foreign direct investor in the United States. So we have very tight relationship with the United States, and this really fascinated me. Here at the consulate, we have 3 teams. The consular section is taking care of the needs of all Swiss citizens living in our jurisdiction. Then we have a small team for economic and trade matters, and another one for culture, public diplomacy, and communication. Yeah, I love working for my country. I mean, to represent the interests of Switzerland gives me satisfaction, a personal satisfaction of doing something useful for my country and for society. And maybe just to conclude on what also Flora was mentioning, gender equality. This is also an issue in our ministry. We are really trying to bring in more and more women into the diplomatic career. So, but for the time being, we do have a lot more ambassadors and a lot more consul generals, male than female, and our ministry really is trying to reach a full gender equality also here. Yeah, thank you.
Sure, and I think that's a similar trend it's really starting to come to the forefront. This conversation, gender equality, racial equity, really has come to the forefront of sort of the diplomatic sector as well. But Peter, if I can actually just add on to your comments, you represent a country that has 4 official languages, if I'm not mistaken, if I did my research correctly: German, French, Italian, and Romansh. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but if my memory serves me right, you speak 2 of those official languages in addition to English. So, can you tell us, what are the benefits of learning a foreign language, and how does it enable you to work in a variety of different fields, and also supplement the work that you do as a consul general?
Yeah, happy to. Well, actually, I speak 3 of the official languages. German is my mother tongue, and French, and as well as Italian. And Italian, I did not learn at school, though. I learned it later when I was posted in Italy. And that is what is important. When I am posted in a foreign country, I really try to learn the language as soon as possible. First, it helps you personally to find your way with the daily chores like shopping, taking a taxi, order a meal in a restaurant, or even calling a plumber. The simple things in life can get difficult if you cannot speak the language. But for a diplomat, it is also important to understand the host country. For that, we need to talk to the people who live in this country. We need to talk to you, Paulina, and we need to talk to the people who live here. It is very important for that we can speak our local language. And going one step further, let's imagine you have to lead negotiations with the foreign delegation. Often, both parties do speak English, but sometimes not. And then you rely on translators. And you most certainly have heard the expression lost in translation. And this is actually a real problem. And then it helps if you can understand the subtleties of the local language. And by learning a language, you do not only learn the language, but you also learn to understand more the culture of that country. You learn that there are different ways of saying things. We people in the West, we Westerner, we are rather direct. But there are other cultures that do not express their opinions as directly as we do. Let me give you an example. When a Swiss entrepreneur, for instance, goes to China to negotiate a business deal, the Chinese partner says that he will think about it. Then the Swiss goes home happily, believing that he has a chance to make a deal. In reality, what the Chinese meant was, forget about it, no way. It just would not say it directly. So it's really important to know not only the words of a language, but to understand the meaning of how people express themselves. And this really differs from country to country. So language is a tool for a diplomat, and we really rely heavily on this tool.
Thank you, Consul General Zimmerli. I think you touched on sort of a very key component here. It's really establishing that connection. And I really like that you sort of talked about the subtleties of communication, which happens in a variety of different cultures and different countries. And as diplomats, you sort of have to familiarize yourself with the language and with the subtleties. So that brings me to my next question. I'll actually address this to Consul General Takeuchi. You know, you have held many diplomatic posts all over the world, Germany, Myanmar, and Austria, to name a few. But this is your first post, in my understanding, in the United States. I hope I'm correct in that. But not only that, this is your first post in the southeastern United States. You're in the South. So do you sort of have a process to better adapt and familiarize yourself with the culture and society of which you are posted? Does this same process translate across all the different international postings, or do you just kind of figure it out as you go along? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Thank you very much. And I want to add that in addition to Germany, Myanmar, and Austria you mentioned, I had Brazil in South America, and Australia in Oceania. So the United States was one of the few last resort I didn't touch at all. And I'm truly happy that now I'm in southeast of the United States. Actually, the difference of the United States with other region is quite distinct, because except Australia, all the countries I was posted had long history, while the United States has less than 300 years of history. And that brings the difference of importance of tradition and the importance of history itself. And what I felt at the first moment I landed in this country was that this is the country that we can do everything what we want. And then I learned that this is a country that I cannot do anything without defining what we want. And in this country, you have to fix your objective or target before we start moving. This specialty of this country made me some trouble, but now I like this specialty of this country quite very much, and my wife as well, because it's quite fun to think about what we want to do, because you have everything for us as an option to choose. And so I believe that the Southeast of America is especially abundant of an option before we are. So now I can say with confidence that I'm enjoying the living in this country and in this region. And although the COVID-19 prevented us from enjoying the state of Georgia and the other states responsible for us, but as soon as trouble comes to over, I can enjoy.
Well, it looks like sorry, Consul General, I think you just froze for just a second there. So thank you for sharing your comments. I completely agree, and I think it is very interesting, sort of finding the process to transition, to familiarize yourself with new cultures, the way society and business interacts when you are in these different positions. So thank you again for your comments. I think we're kind of nearing towards the Q&A portion of this session. So I just wanted to remind the students in the audience and those who are listening to be sure to submit your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. I'll do my best to facilitate the questions as they come in, and if there's a question that you find interesting, be sure to click on the thumbs up so it can move up the list. So maybe we can sort of get started on some of the Q&A questions. As I see they're starting to filter in. So I think one of the major resounding questions it looks like is from Ashley Aguilar. She's a graduating senior, and I'm sure there's many students who are sort of grappling with this sort of international affairs world. And really her question is, she's wondering, how can she find opportunities to work in diplomacy and or at a consulate or a trade office or a binational chamber of commerce. Before we get to you, consuls, I'd just like to actually respond to Ashley. I think it's very important for you to also sort of get involved in some of the international community events and activities that are going on, so you have a better idea of what's even out there within the city of Atlanta and even elsewhere. Of course, it's a bit of a challenge in in this COVID-19 circumstance to do the classic networking activities, but I would recommend you subscribe to an online news publication called Global Atlanta. It's the premier international global news publication that's focused on international business and international community of Atlanta. So definitely subscribe to their newsletter. And they also post events, virtual webinars, activities on their website that sort of where you can have the opportunity to attend and see what job opportunities or maybe what companies or organizations that you may not have been familiar with before you can sign on and become more familiar. But I open it up, that question up to you all. Do you have any suggestions?
Okay, if I may start, maybe. Two things, maybe. I don't know if the person is referring to internships. Internships at the consulate or in our embassies abroad, we offer only or mainly to Swiss citizens who want to go abroad, do an internship for 4, 5, 6 months or maximum a year. But if the question relates to a full-time job, yes, besides the career personnel, which is changing every 4 or 5 years, we rely heavily on the knowledge of local personnel. You know, we have people employed working for us who are Americans and live here in the United States, and we like to tap into their knowledge, be it the knowledge of the American market to help us with our trade and economic issues, or to help us also to organize events, cultural events. So there are possibilities to work with an embassy, and I believe all my colleagues, they have hired people locally. So we really rely on local personnel to help us, and we need their knowledge of the local market and of the local policies, and this is really helpful for us.
I understood the question the same way as Peter did. We all learn a lot when we have interns. We used to have some interns from university here. It didn't matter if they spoke or they didn't speak Spanish. It didn't matter what was their citizenship. But this COVID thing changed everything, because it seems like it's a liability for us to have some interns at our office, because we received a lot of people from basically anywhere in the US. And we deal a lot of different things. And we like a lot in help from interns, because it opens our eyes to some other possibilities and to some topics that we were not considering. We have to remember that each person views the world with their own eyes, and that view is unique, and we can all learn about that unique perspective that people have, and mostly young people have. And also, we learn a lot about technology with them, because I don't know the other consul generals, but I thought that was young until all of this happened, and I had to begin learning about new computer programs and new ways to present documents and to hold meetings. And it seems like for people that are still studying, it's like something that comes very very naturally to them. So I believe that it's the way it is for us in Costa Rica. Also, remember, our consulates are very small. My consulate consists in myself and my assistant, who is a dual citizen. She was born here in Georgia, but she also is a Costa Rican citizen. So we kind of do this thing, and not only here, but in all of the consulates we have here in the US.
For case of Japan, actually, we are not recruiting internships, so I concentrate my story on a full-time job. Actually, talking about the city of Atlanta, I know that the audience is not necessarily from the state of Georgia, but I talk about the city of Atlanta and Georgia. we have the Consulate General of Japan. We have JETRO, Trade Office of Japan, and U.S.-Japan Society, which are touching upon the relationship between the two countries. And the job information can be obtained from time to time from each society. But what is important is the will to get your background as a U.S. citizen with the relationship with Japan and Japanese presence up here. And for those jobs, playing up a Japanese presence and the relationship of region with Japan will be, in the end, coming to the benefit of Japan, benefit of the United States, because I'm quite sure that Japan has been very much one of driving force in the economy of the region, and now we have a lot of cultural and personal connection with the region. So taking part your role in those activities would definitely increases your capacity as a U.S. citizen, as a cosmopolitan. Thank you.
Thank you, Consul General Takeuchi. And I agree. I definitely think that, to get into this field, it does require a will. Where there's a will, there's a way. And, luckily Atlanta, although we're not, in comparison to New York or Washington, D.C., there is a robust international community here where you can find opportunities. It's just knowing what's out there. We have over 2,600 foreign-owned enterprises just within the Metro Atlanta area. We have over 30 binational chambers of commerce. We have over 70 consulates here, and we have a variety of different nonprofits organizations that work within the international space. So I would recommend to do your research, go on the Georgia Department of Economic Development website, go on the City of Atlanta International Affairs website, www.atlinternationalaffairs.com. I can send you the link after this this session, and just see what's out there, and send out an email, follow up, organize virtual 15-minute sort of meetings, just sort of short, brief chats, so you can become familiar with what's out there, where your skills are, and how you can leverage your skills in language or cross-cultural competency for these types of positions. So let's move on to the next question. I think we have one from William Nichols. How has diplomacy changed or not in the age of digital meetings and social media? How is it the same? How is it different? I think this is very relevant in this day and age. Does anybody want to tackle this question? Yeah, Flora, go ahead.
I told you I like to talk. The thing that I like the most is that I don't have to drive to meet people. I love that. So that's the main thing. What I do not like very much is we are human beings and we need to sleep and we need to wake up at certain hours, but we keep forgetting that. And we have people calling us whatever time they feel like, and they keep scheduling meetings whenever they feel like.
Every hour on
the hour.
Yeah.
So it is very difficult. And mostly in Costa Rica, we have people that have to now begin working at 4 a.m. and that end their day at 11 or at midnight. So that's what I like, because you feel, well, I don't have to drive and you can still talk to people and get to know people and whatever. But what I don't like is that the time frame, I think, where they scheduled the meetings.
I agree. No, go
I
ahead.
think it's a great option, mostly for our countries that do not have all the money that you need to spend to meet people. Because if you think like for a meeting in one of the six other the states we deal with, you would have to think hotel, plane tickets, and all of this logistics stuff. And now, no, it's click, and you're there. So that's great.
Exactly. And I think that's a very interesting point. And that's something that we've noticed as well, because although there is sort of this, online fatigue, this Zoom fatigue, there's still, what I have never seen before is it's a lot more, there's a lot more inclusive opportunities to have access to international politics seminars with, prominent State Department speakers or heads of state that are free online. They're free and you can access them and you can see the recording. So there's a lot more access, I think, to high-level content on international and diplomatic issues, whereas before you actually had to fly to that particular city, stay, at the hotel, and actually attend in person. I think there still will always be that desire there for that interpersonal connection. But the benefits that I have seen have been this more inclusive opportunities for people to access high-level international affairs content. Peter, did you have a comment on that question?
Yeah, maybe just quickly. I mean, I fully agree with what Flora was saying. And, in our job, connections, networking, and information is very important. And social media, digital media have really added a new instrument for us to do our job. So it's not something which has replaced, but which came on top of the classic diplomacy. We still, that's my personal belief, we still need and rely very heavily on a personal contact. So this COVID period now really is very heavy on us, especially, at least for me, I can tell you that I really want to go out and shake hands and talk to people directly. This is our job. And since more than half a year now, I'm confined either at home in the office or on the actual office. And I sometimes get the feeling that I'm not doing my job because I cannot be out there and talk, When you talk to people, it's different than when you just see this little frame in Zoom. But when you see the whole environment, when you see the body language of the people, and this is so important for us too. So social media has added something on top, which is beneficial for our work, but it has not replaced the traditional way we are working.
I totally agree with Flora and Peter. Sorry to interrupt, Paulina.
Go ahead.
Yeah, as same as Peter. I have confined myself in my residence and my office for last half a year, and it's also similar to Peter. I'm feeling like I'm not doing my job, and perhaps many taxpayers might think so as well. But like this Zoom webinar, new style of work has emerged, and getting used to it will be a key issue for us as well. To make our job more efficient and more effective. And that also leads to the issue of social media. And we have a lot of social media and online information, and actually it's like living in an ocean of information. And the role of diplomacy, perhaps it's same as other area of policy, is that streamline the ocean full of information and present the people, collect the information as necessary, and let the people to make a correct decision as necessary.
Thank you. Thank you, Consul General. And I think we're kind of nearing the end of the session, but before we close out, I wanted to get to this one question because I think it would be nice to end on this. And this is from Christine Zelt. Let's do a speed round. You know, what is the best part of your job? And would you change anything about being a Consul General, or would you, what changes would you make? That's part of your job. What changes would you make? Flora, we can start with you.
Well, I'm going to be, I don't know, politically incorrect as usual. But, well, what I love the most of my job is that I get to meet new people. I get to explore new places. I get to learn about anything that catches my interest. This is what I love, and that I am not like tied to just doing one thing or learning just about one topic. What I do not like of my daily job is that this is a very small consulate and I have to be here every single day. So that limits my curiosity and the chance that I would have to learn more about what surrounds me and who is surrounding me. So that is it. And
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Flora. Peter, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Flora. I mean, the best part is doing what I'm doing right now. Talking to people, to young people, to an audience where I can bring on the message about Switzerland, and that's really the core of my job here. Well, what I would change, I mean, I don't want to complain about all the administrative part I have to do as well, because we're also a rather small team. But maybe I would like for the young people who are listening out there, add one, maybe a little bit of a negative side to our job, is that we change every 4 to 5 years and we move on. For me, as a diplomat, this is what I really dreamed of, what I was saying in the beginning. I wanted to go out to the world and see the world, and I did. But if you have a family, think about that. I mean, you have a partner who maybe is not so keen about traveling, changing every 4 or 5 years, because the partner cannot build up an own career. And you might have children who have to change the school after 4 years, leave their friends behind. This is always tough. I mean, there are the positive sides. I mean, these kids, they learn a lot about the world, but there are some downsides to it as well. And it's can be heavier on some families. I mean, that's a part to consider about. You know, we always see the shining part of our job, and I love my job, but there is a little bit of a downside to it.
Sure, absolutely. Consul General, close us out. What's your favorite part of your job?
Thank you very much. And I totally agree with
Consul General, I think there's some issues with your connection. Unfortunately, I think your video is not working and your audio is not working very well.
In addition, as I said before, I love to touch upon the different countries.
And unfortunately, I think your connection is a little.
Or not?
No, I don't think so. Well, let's go ahead. Unfortunately, I think we're about at the stopping point. Consul General Takeuchi, I apologize, but I think we're reaching the point of closing. So I just wanted to really say how interesting and insightful this conversation has been. I've really, it's been such I've had the distinct pleasure of working with very closely in partnership with the consuls that are participating today, this afternoon. And we don't always have the chance to talk about their past experiences and sort of their professional journeys. So it has been incredibly thought-provoking for me. And I hope it has also been insightful for all the students and administrators and educators and everyone who logged in for today's session. So, ultimately, if I can conclude in a final thought, really, no matter what field or sector you decide to pursue, a large part of the success in any profession is building relationships and establishing connections. Cultural competency skills can be a powerful tool, as you have seen in this meeting, for shaping ideas and building connections with people from a variety of different backgrounds. So I think that concludes today's diplomacy panel. Just a few quick reminders. There will be a recording of this panel discussion that will be distributed and made accessible on the CULTR website. Be sure to keep the conversation going and fill out the post-event survey that is also on the website. Tomorrow, October 20th at 12 p.m., there will be another panel discussion, but this time it will kind of talk about intercultural competency.
I'm sorry, Paulina.
Oh, it's okay.
See you very soon.
Okay,
I'm sorry. See you.
It's okay. Thank you. I think it's a perfect segue. And again, on behalf of CULTR, I thank you all for joining us. Again, a huge thank you to all the panelists that participated today and shared your experiences, and to all the students and audience members who joined in this afternoon. So thank you again, and goodbye. Thank you all.
Thank you, Paulina.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.